Anyway, before I share my screen, I'm gonna just actually contextualize my personal experience with CRMs. So I've done time, folks. My this is not my first career. I did 5 years in tech support, um, in which managing records is going to be between 10 or 20 or 30 different people who do not stay long and move on and say a lot of have you turned it off and on again. So updating your records, if it wasn't on the CRM, it didn't happen. Furthermore, wow, I just used that word. I sound like a paper. That is terrifying. Um, all CRMs are painful in my experience. I have yet to interact with a single CRM that did not make me want to die inside from too much admin. Um, but there are ways to make it less painful. But when I complain and say this is clunky or this could be better, no, then we just have another CRM cast. We sh Yeah, so when I say like this bit might be painful, I'm not saying that this is worse than any other one, just that CRMs are kind of mean. But anyway, let me do the screen sharing thing. So we press the slideshow and then we alt tab to here, press that button and panic when we can't find the window. Where did it go? All right, are you seeing the thing? Oh, thank you. Excellent. So the first thing with my slides on, I have to say Emmy used to work at OLS. So I think the reason that OLS uses Civi is the same reason that IOI uses Civi, which is funny. But our use cases are somewhat different. And there are great things, there are frustrating things, and I shared a tip for a workaround as well. Sure. This is a slide I copied from Lauren and then modified stuff. So new things are in yellow. For example, interacting with external stakeholders, I already mentioned if I don't log it straight away, it ain't happening. So I try and log things very straight away. I actually had to restrain myself from doing another log that occurred to me right now whilst you were presenting. I was like, I don't want that up on the screen while I'm presenting as well. But we have a couple of other use cases that I'll dig into a little bit more. I'm going to actually start with the bottom one first, because we've talked a lot about um, managing emails. And one thing that we found that works well is also to CC a Google group or BCC a Google group that is used not for people to see, but just for our records. So that we can say, for all of this training cohort, the Google group is here. And then for the next training cohort, we've got a new Google group, and it's just a list of all of our emails that were associated with that. And that's actually worked really nicely. Um, I also am going to hit you up after this, Lauren, and say, how do you get emails into Civi? Because we thought that couldn't be done in Civi Spark. So I'm really quite excited and happy because I want to do that. Anyway, the other thing that I think is a big difference for us is that when we do big training cohorts, and this tends to be people usually between 30 and, in the worst case, 90 people who are participating in some training from between 6 weeks to 16 weeks. And that will include not only the trainees, but also the people who are involved in the training from the delivery perspective. Um, and so getting them to register, we can then have a uniform format. We know who's registered, who hasn't, and we can export that and upload that to the website as well because we tend to have open participation lists on our site. And we also talk about how we handle financial details because we handle people's finances a lot. Usually on very small, nitpicky details, and we'd like to have our financial details in one place where we can delete it very easily because risk management, basically. And so to explain that a little bit more, we have honoraria. So a lot of the people who are offering the delivery of this training, usually between 50 to 500 USD per session. Sometimes they say, pay me. Sometimes they donate it back to us. Sometimes they say, I can't receive this, but if you buy like the entry to a conference for me, then that will make my life so much better than having to argue with, my university's whatever office. Um, and so we need to be able to track that and know over a longer period of time what's been going on with it. And then what's even more complicated is because we offer very global training, we offer people financial aid to fix the things that money can fix that make participation better. So that could be anything from, if your internet is ridiculously expensive, sending you $100 to pay for internet. It might be that you need a ring light because computational algorithms do not detect white skin and dark skin in the same way. There are many different reasons why you might need help. And if we can unpack and fix that for you, we will do so. Not everything can be fixed by money, but we try and fix some of those things. Um, and that needs a lot of tracking, as back and forth of how do you want to receive this? Do we order it and ship it to you? Is the post so bad that you actually want to buy it yourself and be reimbursed, or do you want the cash up front? And so those are all different ways of interaction, and they can actually take months, especially when a payment provider doesn't like a country you sent something to and says, can you prove your identity and confirm that this is not fraud? And so it can take a long time sometimes to do these tiny payments. So it's really important that we log it and we don't drop them and that we can look them all up in a single place. And Civi allows us to do that. I decided not to actually give a proper demo of this because no one actually wants to say, hey, I couldn't afford to buy a ring light and then have their details shown on the internet to a bunch of people whilst training. um, but yeah, the main thing is that it's a single place that allows us to track all these interactions regardless of who has been doing it. So for us, that's been very useful. Um, and the other thing is that I don't always enjoy interacting with the forms in Civi. Like very strongly don't enjoy. So if you look at I hope that you can read this, but the thing on the left, I have to select an activity type. For me, it's always I talked with someone about the thing. I don't actually care if it was a phone call or if it was a Zoom call or if it was face to face. That doesn't matter. So why am I letting it force me to choose every time? Why am I letting it force me to choose who I am? I know who I am. It's always going to be me who's logging myself. And so you can simplify that form. Civi has a form builder, which is a bit of a pain to learn to work with, but once you do, I've simplified that form there, which has like about 15 entry points to the three things I actually care about. And that is one of my dashlets that's on the home page. And so I literally log three things, which is subject, details, and who it was with. And that makes my life a lot simpler and faster, and means I'm more likely to actually do the logging, which is a barrier, right? If I think, oh God, it's actually going to take me a long time, and I don't do it, and then it gets out of date, then it might as well not exist, which is one of the big challenges with CRMs. If you have a CRM and no one uses it, it's a tree that fell in the forest, right? Why bother? um, yeah, funders help us go, etc., etc. Thank you very much, lovely humans.